The psychology of ego and attraction. Understanding Carl Jung's insights and gender dynamics in relationships. The interplay between psychology, gender dynamics, and romantic attraction has long fascinated scholars, psychologists, and individuals seeking to understand the complexities of human relationships. Carl Jung, a pioneering figure in analytical psychology, provided profound insights into the human psyche, including the concept of the ego and its role in shaping personality and behavior. This video explores Jung's theories, particularly the notion of the ego and its vulnerabilities, in the context of romantic dynamics, with a focus on how women can navigate relationships to shift the traditional pursuer-pursued dynamic. By analyzing the psychological differences between male and female brains, personality traits, and practical strategies, this video aims to provide a comprehensive guide for women seeking to foster attraction and emotional investment from men, making them the pursuer. The video begins with an overview of Jung's concept of the ego and its significance in relationships, followed by an exploration of psychological mechanisms behind breaking the ego and fostering obsession. It then delves into the differences between male and female brains, personality traits, and how these influence romantic behaviors. Finally, it offers practical advice for women grounded in psychological principles to navigate these dynamics effectively. This exploration is not about manipulation, but about understanding the psyche to foster genuine, mutual attraction. Carl Jung's concept of the ego. Carl Jung's analytical psychology emphasizes the structure of the psyche, which includes the ego, the personal unconscious, and the collective unconscious. The ego, according to Jung, is the center of consciousness, representing an individual's sense of self, identity, and agency. It is the I that navigates the external world, making decisions and maintaining a coherent sense of self. For men, the ego often manifests as a source of pride, control, and autonomy, shaped by societal expectations of masculinity, such as strength, independence, and dominance. Jung argued that the ego is not fixed but dynamic, constantly interacting with other aspects of the psyche, such as the shadow repressed or hidden aspects of the self, and the anima or animus, the contrasexual archetype representing the feminine in men and masculine in women. The ego's stability can be challenged when confronted with experiences that disrupt its sense of control or expose its vulnerabilities. In romantic contexts, breaking a man's ego does not mean destroying his self-esteem, but rather destabilizing his rigid self-concept to foster vulnerability, emotional openness, and deeper connection. For a woman to shift the dynamic from pursuing to being pursued, Jung's theories suggest engaging with a man's anima, the unconscious feminine aspect of his psyche. The anima influences a man's emotional and relational desires, often projecting idealized qualities onto a romantic partner. By embodying qualities that resonate with his anima, a woman can captivate his psyche, creating a sense of fascination or obsession. However, this requires understanding the psychological mechanisms behind male attraction and the interplay of gender-specific traits. The psychology of breaking the ego. The phrase, breaking a man's ego, is metaphorical, referring to the process of challenging a man's rigid self-image to foster emotional vulnerability and attachment. According to Jung, the ego resists change, clinging to a constructed identity. For men, societal pressures often reinforce an ego rooted in control, achievement, and emotional restraint. Disrupting this can create a psychological opening, allowing a man to connect more deeply with his emotions and, by extension, with the romantic partner. Psychologically, this process involves creating a dynamic where a man's sense of certainty is gently challenged. For example, uncertainty or unpredictability in a woman's behavior can destabilize the ego's need for control, prompting a man to seek resolution through pursuit. This aligns with attachment theory, which suggests that intermittent reinforcement, unpredictable rewards can heighten emotional investment. When a woman alternates between warmth and distance, it triggers a dopamine response in the male brain, fostering a cycle of seeking and reward that resembles obsession. However, Jung's insights caution against manipulation. The goal is not to harm, but to encourage a man to confront his shadow, those repressed emotions or vulnerabilities, and integrate them into his conscious self. This can lead to a deeper, more authentic connection. For instance, a woman who embodies confidence and independence may challenge a man's assumption of dominance, prompting him to reevaluate his ego and pursue her to regain equilibrium. Male and female brain differences. To understand how to navigate romantic dynamics, it's essential to explore the neurological and psychological differences between men and women, as these shape behavior and attraction. The male brain. The male brain, influenced by higher levels of testosterone, is often characterized by a focus on systemizing, problem-solving, and goal-directed behavior. Neuroscientist Luann Brizendini notes that the male brain has a larger amygdala, which processes emotions like anger and fear, and a smaller prefrontal cortex relative to women, which can lead to less impulse control and emotional regulation. Men are also more responsive to visual and physical stimuli in romantic contexts, with the brain's reward system dopamine pathways activated by novelty and challenge. In relationships, men often prioritize status, competition, and achievement, which align with their ego-driven identity. The male brain responds strongly to rewards, making intermittent reinforcement, for example, unpredictable affection, particularly effective in fostering attraction. Additionally, men's anima, as per Jung, drives them to seek partners who embody qualities they lack, such as emotional expressiveness or nurturing, which can trigger deep fascination when a woman presents these traits selectively. The female brain. The female brain, influenced by higher levels of estrogen and oxytocin, excels in empathizing, verbal communication, and emotional processing. Women typically have a larger prefrontal cortex, enhancing emotional regulation and impulse control, and a more interconnected corpus callosum, facilitating communication between brain hemispheres. This contributes to women's tendency to prioritize relationships, emotional connection, and social bonding. In romantic contexts, women often seek partners who provide security and emotional stability, reflecting evolutionary drives for protection and resource provision. However, the female brain's sensitivity to social cues allows women to intuitively navigate interpersonal dynamics, making them adept at influencing a man's behavior through subtle cues, such as body language or emotional availability. Personality differences and attraction. Personality traits, shaped by both biology and environment, further influence romantic dynamics. The Big Five personality model: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism reveals gender differences that impact attraction. Openness. Men and women score similarly, but men may be more open to novelty and romantic pursuits, making unpredictability attractive. Conscientiousness. Women often score higher, reflecting a focus on planning and reliability, which can be leveraged to create a sense of stability that men find grounding. Extroversion. Men may exhibit more dominance-oriented extroversion, while women's extroversion often manifests as sociability, which can draw men in through warmth and approachability. Agreeableness. Women typically score higher, making them more nurturing, which aligns with the anima's idealized qualities. Neuroticism. Women may experience higher emotional reactivity, which can be managed to avoid overwhelming a man's ego while still expressing vulnerability. These differences suggest that women can use their emotional intelligence and nurturing tendencies to create a dynamic where men feel both challenged and supported, encouraging pursuit. Advice for women: becoming the pursued. Drawing on Jung's theories and psychological insights, here are practical strategies for women to shift the pursuer-pursued dynamic, fostering a man's emotional investment without manipulation. These strategies are grounded in authenticity, self-awareness, and mutual respect. 1. Cultivate self-confidence and independence. A woman who exudes confidence and independence challenges a man's ego by signaling that she doesn't need him, which can spark his desire to pursue her. Jung's concept of individuation, becoming a fully realized self, suggests that a woman who is secure in her identity is inherently attractive, as she resonates with a man's anima by embodying strength and authenticity. Practical steps: pursue personal goals, career, hobbies, fitness, to demonstrate self-sufficiency. Maintain boundaries, saying no when necessary to assert autonomy. Avoid excessive validation seeking, as this can signal insecurity and reduce allure. By focusing on her own growth, a woman becomes a high-value partner, prompting a man to invest effort to win her affection. 2. Engage the anima through emotional depth. Jung's anima represents a man's unconscious feminine ideal, often projected onto a romantic partner. A woman can captivate a man by embodying qualities like emotional warmth, mystery, or creativity, but selectively, to maintain intrigue. Practical steps: share emotions thoughtfully, revealing vulnerability in controlled moments to create intimacy without overwhelming. Cultivate an air of mystery by not disclosing everything immediately. Let him uncover layers over time. Non-verbal cues: eye contact, subtle smiles to create emotional resonance, tapping into his anima's desire for connection. This approach triggers a man's curiosity, encouraging him to pursue deeper understanding. 3. Create intermittent reinforcement. The male brain's dopamine-driven reward system responds strongly to unpredictable rewards. By alternating between warmth and distance, a woman can create a psychological chase that keeps a man engaged. Practical steps: vary the frequency and intensity of communication. For example, respond warmly one day, be slightly aloof the next. Offer genuine compliments or affection sporadically, rather than consistently, to heighten their impact. Avoid being overly available. Maintain a full life to signal scarcity of time and attention. This strategy aligns with behavioral psychology's principle of intermittent reinforcement, fostering a cycle of pursuit and reward. 4. Challenge the ego without humiliation. To break a man's ego, a woman can gently challenge his sense of control without threatening his self-esteem. This involves subtle disruptions to his assumptions, encouraging vulnerability. Practical steps: playfully challenge his opinions in a light-hearted way, showing confidence without being confrontational. Maintain independence in decision-making, subtly undermining any assumption of dominance. Avoid criticism or belittling, as this can trigger defensiveness rather than attraction. This approach encourages a man to lower his defenses and pursue emotional connection. 5. Leverage emotional intelligence. Women's higher emotional intelligence can be used to read and respond to a man's emotional state, creating a tailored approach to attraction. Practical steps: observe his emotional triggers and tailor interactions to resonate with his values. For example, ambition, humor. Active listening to make him feel understood, fostering a sense of unique connection. Mirror his energy levels subtly to create rapport, but maintain individuality to avoid seeming overly accommodating. This builds trust and emotional investment, encouraging pursuit. 6. Balance, availability, and scarcity. A key to becoming the pursued is balancing availability with scarcity. Being too available can diminish a man's drive to pursue, while too much distance can discourage him. Practical steps: schedule time apart to pursue personal interests, creating natural scarcity, or respond to messages with slight delays, occasionally to avoid predictability. Show genuine interest, but maintain an air of independence, signaling that your attention is valuable. This balance keeps a man engaged without feeling rejected. 7. Foster mutual growth. Jung's concept of individuation emphasizes mutual growth in relationships. A woman who inspires a man to grow emotionally and personally becomes a source of fascination. Practical steps: encourage his ambitions and offer constructive feedback, showing investment in his success. Share personal growth experiences to inspire mutual development. Create shared goals or challenges. For example, learning a new skill together to deepen the bond. This fosters a partnership dynamic where pursuit is mutual and authentic. Ethical considerations. While these strategies can be effective, they must be used ethically. Manipulation or intentional harm can damage trust and lead to unhealthy relationships. The goal is to foster genuine attraction and mutual respect, not control. Women should prioritize their own authenticity and emotional well-being, ensuring that the pursuit dynamic is mutually beneficial. Carl Jung's theories of the ego and anima provide a profound framework for understanding romantic dynamics, particularly the process of breaking a man's ego to foster attraction and pursuit. By combining Jung's insights with modern psychology, women can navigate these dynamics with confidence, authenticity, and emotional intelligence. Understanding the male and female brain's differences, such as men's dopamine-driven pursuit of rewards and women's empathic strengths, allows women to craft interactions that resonate deeply with a man's psyche. The strategies outline cultivating independence, engaging the anima, using intermittent reinforcement, challenging the ego, leveraging emotional intelligence, balancing availability, and fostering mutual growth offer a roadmap for women to become the pursued while maintaining authenticity. These approaches, grounded in psychological principles, emphasize mutual respect and emotional connection, aligning with Jung's vision of individuation and holistic relationships. By understanding and applying these principles, women can create dynamics where men are inspired to pursue not out of manipulation, but out of genuine fascination and emotional investment.